Welcome to the Fit 40 podcast, where we take all the confusing, conflicting fitness and nutrition information and break it down so that you can live your healthiest, strongest, most energized life. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons. Let's get it started. To hit record. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like we had covered anything important just yet. All right, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro so people know who you are, and then we'll just take it from there.
Okay. All righty.
All right. So hopefully people have signed on in the Facebook group during their lunchtime. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? We got Shane McLean in the house tonight, or today, actually. It is noontime. This guy is an expert when it comes to training mature women. And for those of you that don't know where he's been or what he's done, this guy is a big time writer. Like, it'd probably be easier to list the places he's not published than.
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying.
You're making me blush now. Don't make me blush.
I'm just saying, this guy has written his own ebook, Get Back in the Saddle. He's written for websites and publications like Garage Gym Reviews, Bar Bend, Breaking Muscle, Muscle and Fitness, Fitness Volt, the PTDC, Tony Gentlecore's website, and I probably missed another like 100. So
I think you got it.
So to say I am ecstatic to have him on the podcast is putting it lightly. So welcome, Shane.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. And
You're very welcome.
That is a lot of places, isn't it? When you
when you list them all, it's like, oh yeah.
But like when an athlete goes back, they're like, they get interviewed about breaking a milestone, and they're like, I'm not really worried about that now. It'd be great to look back on it at the end of my career.
Yeah, when you're sitting in your man cave looking at all the trophies.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So it's great that you listed it, but I don't often think of it like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
But it's still cool though.
Yeah, you're just still so in it right now that you're like zooming out kind of feels weird.
Yes, exactly. No, yeah, exactly right. But thank you for having me on. It's a great honor.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that our mutual friend, Andrew Coates, hooked us up, because Andrew is one hell of a dude. I actually just got the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him at Coaching Con this past weekend. And literally within like maybe 20 minutes of chatting it up with him, he's like, dude, you got to get in touch with Shane McLean, like message him right now. And I'm like, all right.
Okay. So people who are watching, Andrew sent me a video message with you standing beside him, and you were completely silent. He did all the talking. I just thought you looked scared, because Andrew is one big dude.
He is a big dude. He makes everybody look small.
He's smaller than he used to be.
That's a scary thought.
He's almost when you mention his size to him, he's almost embarrassed.
I mean, he definitely has that like chill giant vibe where he's like, am I big?
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
but there isn't a guy who pushes there. He's one of a few guys who really pushes this industry forward and puts others before himself.
Absolutely.
So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, very thankful for Andrew. So we had to get that shout out done early, because we got a lot to cover. Because I mean, when it comes to our type of people that we train, like me and Shane both work with mature women. Like I do women over 40. Where's your line? Like where you typically work with someone?
Yeah, I don't have one.
Nah, just whoever comes through the door if they're the right fit.
But I'd say most of the women clients that I've trained in the past have definitely been over 40.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Cool.
They've definitely been over 40. I'm too old and ugly to train hot women.
No Brett Contreras is here.
That won't have a part of me. So yeah, most of mine have been mature women for sure. But I don't really have a line.
All right, cool. Now, let's dial it back a little bit to, I'm curious, because everybody seems to have a really good answer for this in the fitness space. What got you into fitness? Like, what made you become a trainer?
Okay, so I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One, I love working out. I think anybody who comes in this industry, if you hate working out, obviously you're not going to be a trainer.
Yeah.
Second reason is I really like telling people what to do. That might sound funny, but it is true. Really, I'm really bossy. So being a personal trainer feeds that a little bit. I like making people better. I think if you're not in this industry to make people better, then again, what are you doing here? I really like to wear tracksuit pants. Hate wearing suits. Hate wearing suits. I've done the suit and tie thing. Don't like it, and it hides my unhealthy obsession with coffee.
Oh, really?
Oh God, live stream. Look at the size of my mug.
Wow. For anybody
That's
who's
like
listening
that's
in
like
on the podcast,
that's
this
like
is
at
like
least a liter. It's like
yeah,
it's like 32-ounce mug of coffee. I drink 2 of those a day.
yeah. It was the
That
size
well.
of your head when you put it right next to your face.
And my head is really big, so that's saying that is saying something. But yeah,
Well,
there's some of the reasons. Like yeah, in all seriousness, there's some of the reasons why I got into this industry. Yeah,
awesome.
and the joke
Awesome.
ones too.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of in the caffeine camp too, where I mean, I'm an energy drink connoisseur, but I totally get you where it's like in our space, it's totally accepted. Nobody looks at you weird when you break out that second bang energy to hit your like 600 milligrams of caffeine.
Right.
It's not a worried look. It's a, oh, is that a good flavor?
Yeah. It's funny because, you know, we had personal trainers have, you know, kind of like codes of behavior, the way we're meant to be around clients. And I remember Kevin Mullins, you probably know who Kevin is. Kevin is big on the kind of code of conduct type deal. And I remember one time he wrote about, you know, not drinking coffee or not bringing coffee into a personal training session. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm drinking it while they're exercising. I actually say up front to my clients, I'm like, it's coffee, I'm drinking it. And they're like, I don't give a shit. So,
yep.
Yeah, I'm very unprofessional when it comes to things like that. Yeah, I will drink coffee.
I mean, if you bring the energy, I don't think anybody cares. I remember I did a 5 a.m. session and it got knocked over and it spilled all over the floor. And instead of people being like, oh my God, like, let's clean it up. First thing out of their mouth was, do you need another? Like,
let's go.
I'm like, am I that bad without it? Was my first question.
Let's go. Oh, you could be, but that's great.
Yeah, that's the gym culture is like, if we don't have our caffeine, we're genuinely concerned for each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But speaking of the gym, speaking of workouts, like I know that you and me have a very similar philosophy when it comes to workouts. Cause I mean, we're not over here doing the lunge to curl to press and then jump squat in between.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah.
I'd love to riff a little bit on like what your philosophy is when it comes to training, like the simpler, the better, or are there like certain things that you like to work on specifically? Like, where do you start when it comes to somebody watching right now who's like, I don't know where to begin. What would you tell them?
Well, I'm going to just steal this from Dan John, right? So Dan John is big on fundamental human movement. So squat, push, pull, hinge, carry, everything else. So that everything else could be anything else. So I think anybody's point of call, particularly when it comes to training, is movement before load. So really focus. I mean, obviously you have to add load to sometimes improve movement. Mm-hmm. Like a goblet squat. With somebody's squat could be ugly. You put a dumbbell right there and boom, they're squatting like a champ, right? So that's not always a given. Yeah, that's not always a given. But I always one of my things is I put movement before load, for sure. Before I add load, it's like nobody wants to do an elevated Bulgarian split squat with a couple of 32 kilo kettlebells right there. You got to learn how to do a split squat first, right? You got to be able to do that movement. So there's that. So there's that fundamental human movement, and then that move, and then load before movement. And once they have that, then there's load, obviously. So I think definitely for the beginning trainer, I mean, strength training is great. Low reps, high weight is great. Obviously, when somebody's starting out, that's not so great. So there is that learning thing that we have to do. So I'm usually working between the 8 to 15 rep range. I mean, that's where I am pretty much most of the time, particularly with clients. I rarely do 1 RM type lifts. I mean, or 1 hour type movements. But that being said, low reps definitely have their place for strength training. But the client, it's really driven by the client. I'm more client focused than I've ever been. I think when you first start as a trainer, you think you know best, and you think you know what the client knows best.
Oh yeah.
I'm not like that anymore. Because I fall in love with progress. I mean, when I see a client progressing, I fall in love with it, and I keep feeding it. And then they're like, I don't like this anymore. And I can't say, well, screw you, we're going to do it anyway. They're paying the bills. So I'm more client focused than I've ever been. So even if they're good at the movement and they're getting stronger at it, if they don't like it, I just take it out. I just don't do it. But yes, I usually work between the 18 to 15 rep range. Very rarely do I go below 6.
Mm-hmm.
But it has its place. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think you probably know more about this than me. And I get this from Nick Tamatiello, is that women can do more reps with the same weight than a man can, right?
Yep.
At a given load. So you got to feed that, right? Because they can do more. The women that I train have way better muscular endurance than I do. I mean, far and above. I do some of their moves in my own training. I'm like, oh man, this hurts. Well, and I'm making them do it all the time. And they're having a conversation while they're doing it like it's nothing. And I'm like, oh my God.
That is so true.
we right. We've got to feed that. Again, low reps have their place. But I think with women, that happens pretty rarely, unless they're training for powerlifting or anything like along those lines. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Hopefully somebody got a philosophy out of all of that, because that was a lot of talk.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, they hear me rant about it all the time, especially because like now I'm approaching year 8 or 9 of doing this. Like, I know you've been doing it forever. Like, I'm starting to lean towards like giving people rep maxes instead of weight maxes, where it's like on that last one, we're just going to go for broke until like we don't want to push into pain and we don't want to lose our form, and then take that as far as you can. And technical the ladies, technical failure. Yep. And the ladies will put up like 10, 15, 20 reps. And I'm like, I feel bad. Like, I feel bad for putting that in there. Cause I get like 6 or 7 when I put it in my own program. And I'm just like, how in the hell are these ladies doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the thing. You've got to play into, not only with women, but with men, you got to play into their strengths.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And before that all happens, obviously you have to build a rapport and know what they want, and all that kind of stuff. And then when they're part of the whole process, then that makes the load and the reps and all that kind of stuff easier when they know the why behind it, right?
Absolutely.
Like I said, women are more coachable. They're also willing to listen. So, you know, part of our profession, we have to be educating during the session as well as just going, hey, do that. I want 10. So
Yep.
when people know the why behind it, then they're more likely to do it. They're more likely to buy into it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all about building autonomy. And like, that's, as a coach, all we can hope for is that the client likes to participate in it. It's not just tell me what to do.
Yeah. And you get those clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You get the busy, stressed out executive that just go, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And the old trainer in us is like, yes.
Yeah.
like those first years when you're like, I just read a bunch of T Nation. I just read a bunch of Elite FTS. Believe me, I know what's best for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I take a real leaf out of the Tony Genacors book when it comes to that. He's riffed about before, just saying the last 5 minutes of the session, just tell him, what do you want to do? What do you want to work on? Anything you want. So I stole that from him. That's what I do. I said, what do you want to do? We've done everything we're going to do today. What do you want to do? Do you want to do abs? Do you want to do, you know, biceps, triceps, shoulders? And they just go, oh, I want to do shoulders. And we're like, okay, and we just do like some shoulder stuff. And so again, that creates a real buy-in. And that's, I hate to say it, but that's more likely to happen with women than men.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it is funny how a lot of coaches do a lot of similar things that are like high level coaches. Like, I know I've heard Joe DeFranco riff on that too, saying that like he'll have all these football players that are like dying to like rip their shirts off and do arms and like shoulders. And he's like, all right, well, once we do like this stuff, you guys got 10 minutes at the end to do whatever you want to do. And then they're like, okay. And then they go do the biceps and triceps and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that just creates buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're part of the decision-making process. And I think with a coach and being coaches like we are, that only comes with experience.
100%. And because I think one of the big things is we learn about what we can get away with. Like in the beginning, you're just like, I got to do everything perfectly because I don't want to mess anything up because I'm really not confident in what I'm doing just yet.
Yeah.
And then when you get older, you're like, all right, well, we don't need like 30% of this. So why don't we have fun with it?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Cool. Now, I know that you mentioned, I don't know if I put the recording on before we were talking about the garage gym. I'm curious because I know I saw that you write for garage gym reviews. Do you have any like pieces of equipment that you just find yourself always going back to? And to follow that up, any pieces of equipment that you thought were great that ended up just taking up space?
Oh, it's definitely the TRX.
Yeah. That you use a lot of?
Yeah. I've been doing the stock standard TRX row for like 13 years, 14 years. I haven't got sick of it yet. It still gets me every time. I mean, I obviously do variations of it, but the stock standard TRX row, and I think particularly with women, when they come into a gym for the first time, they think it's all dumbbells and barbells, right? I've had a lot of clients come to me say, you know, Shane, I really like how you use the TRX and the bands and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of women have a picture of working out like it's cold, hard steel, let's go. And that's just, you know, that's just the perception that you have to bust. Obviously bands are great, but with the TRX is also a good teaching tool for movement. It's like, say, an assisted squat, assisted split squat, reverse lunge, all that kind of stuff. You can adjust the height on the push-up, all that kind of stuff. So the TRX is a great teaching tool, and it's also great for strength, right? And it's not an intimidating piece of equipment to use. Kettlebells, to the first-time user, are intimidating. You look at a kettlebell, you go over to a woman, I want you to lift that kettlebell thing over there. Let's go. They're like, what the hell is this? Right? Get them on the TRX and go, the closer you get your feet in, the harder it is to move, the further away you move it, the easier it is. Let's go. And they're like, oh yeah, I can do this. So the TRX, the TRX is great. I'd say when it comes to, and a lot of people are going to hate this, but you obviously need them in your gym. It's definitely the barbell. Right?
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of functional people all hot and bothered now.
Yeah, I have clients, and I myself, do barbell bench presses and barbell squats and all that kind of stuff. And I have a client who loves all of that. But mainly, for what I turn the barbell into a landmine almost every time.
A landmine is the best piece of equipment. So good.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say to get rid of it. I just say it's probably a little overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I love the barbell, but the barbell is intimidating to a lot of women when they first begin. That makes the landmine such a great tool to go, hey, do a one-arm press with a barbell, and they're like, oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
But you get them laying on their back doing a bench press, they're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
There is that, but you obviously need it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I mean, I'm a great believer in using all the tools in the toolbox. Not one is better than the other. Some tools are better for other things, but I'm a big believer. I'm a variety guy. I'll go bands, dumbbells, TRXs, kettlebells, landmines, whatever. I'm good.
Absolutely. I mean, can't say enough about those things, mostly because they're the most versatile. You could do anything with those, that little setup. It's really not a whole lot of equipment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I mean, the TRX is just, I mean, one thing. I mean, I bring it on vacation with me. I don't, tie it to a tree.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys.
Hey, I mean, nobody likes looking at the fit guy on vacation.
Yeah. It's funny because there's a whole thing about exercising on vacation, whether to do it or not. And you've obviously had the discussion with your clients. What do I do when I'm away?
Uh-huh.
I usually say, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
For me, it just clears my head. It's not so much keeping in shape or feeling guilty about what I ate last night or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm.
It clears my head, and let's face it, there's a big focus on mental health right now. I mean, you see it a lot in the news, and now exercise isn't a substitute for medication. I think a lot of people get into like, well, if you're depressed, you should just do some bench pressing. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Not quite.
But it helps, right? You need every tool in the toolbox. And that's where exercise is for me. Because I think, and particularly, I mean, women over 40 and anyone over 40, vanity is a big deal. Mm-hmm. You all want to look great. I mean, that's just a given. But I think
anybody, I mean, there is that one like vain part of their brain where they're like, I want to look good. I want to see myself in the mirror and be like, yes.
Yeah, but we also want to feel good. Mm-hmm. And I think one gets lost in the other sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I like to feel. That's why I exercise on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's definitely something to be said about that because it helps you enjoy the vacation more. Like that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, you can, but you don't have to. Like I personally like to do it to kind of get rid of a little bit of the bloat that comes with the extra eating, the drinking and all of that. And then it allows you to not feel like crap for the second half of the vacation. But if you want to go the full Ben Bruno route and just say, I'm not touching a weight for a week, then you could do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, our gains don't go anywhere for a week. No. Sometimes it's good to rest for a week. Right?
I mean, so it's the deload that some people desperately need, especially the people like I know I come across some women that will do 6-7 days a week hardcore, and then they'll go on vacation. Then they come back and they're like, how am I stronger? It's like, because you've been pushing it too hard and you finally got the rest.
Yeah. So I think there's a saying from Eric Presley. It says, fatigue masks fitness, right? You've heard that before? Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mate, we as coaches know that when we're tired that we walk into the gym, we're like, yeah, I don't think 255 is going to happen today. And we can dial it back. And that also helps our client. We see that in our clients. When some clients will come in and they're not 100%, but they still want to push through it. You're like, no, that's just not going to happen today. You kind of just draw a line in the sand. It's like, no, let's just dial it back today. This is an old saying, just live to fight again another day. I'm a big believer in that.
100%.
Yeah, I'm a big.
Because I mean, a month or two of a bunch of like 7 out of 10 days are going to beat like a week of 10 out of 10s and then not doing anything for another 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get clients who come in, particularly women clients, and they don't progress, or that they haven't had a great session. And again, this is from Dan John. I said, what's the hardest thing about being here? And they're like, is it showing up? You showed up. The rest is easy. Don't worry about it. Right? Even if you half-assed it today, it's better than no assing it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Showing up is the most important thing. Right?
Where I used to work, there was actually a sign on the door that said, you just did the hardest part.
That's a great sign.
Yeah.
I love that sign. Yeah.
Yep. It was true, because everybody would make comments when they got in. They're like, well, the sign was right because I feel like shit today. And we're like, that's fine. You're here. Let's move a little bit. Let's have you feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
There is something to be said for the art of showing up. Like, I don't know. I think like a lot of people have read this book, but like Atomic Habits, how they have
I haven't read it, but I know who James Clear is.
Okay, there's a anecdote in there about a guy who lost like a crazy amount of weight, and he said for like the beginning of his journey, he would just show up to the gym every day, and if he could walk, he would walk. If he could do weights, he could do weights. But there were some days where he went in the gym, looked around, walked for 5 minutes, and then walked right out. And he's like, "What's the point?" And he's like, "Well, I mastered the art of showing up."
That's it, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For us, it's easy.
Yeah.
Right. For our clients or potential clients, it's a little bit more difficult.
Absolutely.
That's why it's always good to reinforce that point.
Absolutely. Now, are there any like common issues that you see like when you're training women that come up on a frequent basis, and how do you navigate it?
Oh, this is an easy one. So women talk badly about themselves, like all the time. They will engage, not all the time, not all dry time during the session, but often they badmouth themselves, right? So, and I kind of just made this up on the spot, but I have a client, and she wasn't in the best of shape when she first started training with me. But she was a machine. It was just her eating and all that kind of stuff. But there's one day she came in and she started calling herself a fat piece of shit or something along those lines. And I was on the spot, and I was like, hey, I said, we don't talk about ourselves like that in here. If you want to talk about yourself like that, you can step outside my door and you can talk badly about it yourself. But when you're in here, we don't do that. And she hasn't done it since, and she's in the best shape of her life. Now, I like to think I like to take credit for that, but it's not.
As you,
It's just
I mean,
it's just the light switch in her.
yeah, because as much as we say, as much as people think we're just fitness coaches, like mindset is such a huge component that I think it's lost on a lot of people and their experience with fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've recently, I mean, a lot of people know who Molly Galbraith is.
I was just about to bring her up.
So, I mean, I recently read her book, and I saw her talk at Raise the Bar in Dallas. And that opened my eyes to a lot about not talking about a woman's appearance like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So in that respect, I like to praise performance over appearance.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I do. And I was doing that even before I read Molly's book, even before I heard her talk. But it really opened my eyes to all of that because, shit, I'm a man, so I don't know, right? I used to be the guy that ogled women in the gym and all that kind of stuff. So I was that guy. I think
we all start from somewhere.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I think I'm a lot more conscious because women are constantly judging themselves and they're constantly judging other women. And then there's all that going on. So particularly during my sessions, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to go all Planet Fitness and say it's a no judgment zone because that's just bullshit. But when they're with me, yeah, I praise performance over appearance.
Absolutely. And Molly is like an invaluable resource, especially to the men in the fitness space, because she brings up stuff like you said. Like I was actually at Raise the Bar too, and I was listening to that talk, and I was just like,
she you brings were there? Up,
yeah.
What was Andrew doing? He should have introduced us then.
Andrew was caught up. He was being the mayor of that whole thing. So he had a million people coming up to him, like saying hi, trying to get his ear. And I'm just like, I saw him at Strong New York in October before, and I already had met him. So I was just giving him like, how's it going, man? How's it going? I wasn't like trying to chat up because he had so many people. But back to Molly, like, I mean, I know when I came across her, she would say stuff and I'm like, I never, ever thought of that. So like any of my clients watching right now, they know. So they'll make comments like, oh, I can't fit into my jeans, or like, oh, I feel like I've gained so much weight. Or even when they hit high points where it's like, I've lost so much weight, or I've lost all these inches. This is awesome. I'll always tie it back to like that. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, what do you think got you there? And then it's like, well, the consistency and the working out and the nutrition. I'm like, that's what we're celebrating.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I should use that.
Hey, you could always tie it back.
yeah. You know, you're exactly right. Right. So, particularly as coaches, as male coaches, yeah, we've got to take that judgment out of it, don't we? We really
100%. Because it all just comes down to it's the summation of action. It's not how we look in the mirror or how we judge ourselves and the feelings that are along the way. It's like, what have we done and what can we do going forward?
Yeah. So an interesting story for your audience. I train my wife. So
oh boy.
Yes. Yeah. My wife is my client.
For anybody that doesn't know, training a significant other is one of the riskiest things that you can do.
Yeah. So that what we've all talked about just now, that really plays into when I train her. Right.
Yep.
Because as a husband, you're always judging your partner's appearance, even if you're not married, you're constantly judging it, right? So being her trainer, it's good practice because I have to just take that out of it. I really, really do. I have to just go, no, don't say that. Don't do that. Don't say that. So that's good practice for me, for all my other clients. But yes, training a significant other is it's a delicate balancing act.
Absolutely. I know when my girlfriend goes, I try and like make a conscious effort because she's in her residency. So if she gets to the gym one time a week, she's lucky. So she's not feeling too great about like certain things. And every time she goes, I'm like, you're standing a little taller. Like you look a little bit leaner. Did that feel good? Like do you feel stronger? And it's like, it kind of gets into the reinforcement of like, I enjoy this more so than just the immediate results.
Yeah. And that's again, you talk when you talk about that, that's, particularly with results, because we're in that results business. I think tying it back into women's bodies, we have to also define results, like, doing one more rep, being able to balance someone for a little longer, holding the plank a little 15 seconds extra. We got to also, tie those all in too, because usually, I know this is a cliche and women have heard this before and men have heard this before. People tie the results to the weight on the scale. They tie a lot to that number. They look at that number and it's either going to make them feel great or make them feel shit.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all been there. Even as coaches, I've been there. You probably you've been there too. So I think defining results and giving it a broad spectrum rather than just inches lost, number on the scale, body fat percentage, and all that is great because we need all of that. I think other stuff is as well. I think because a lot of people get stuck into the either or type, is either this or it's that. I think as coaches, we've got to be both, right?
Absolutely,
because can't be one or the other. And either or plays great on social media. You know that, we know that. Go, squats are great, squats are bad. Let's go and create a whole bunch of engagement. It's like, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
Right.
It seems like people love creating these dichotomies that just are like, anybody who actually trains people knows that it doesn't exist. Like it's not either or.
No, it really, really isn't. It really isn't. And being empathetic, that's another thing of coaching. Again, with me training my wife, that helps me be empathetic and compassionate to other women. Being a parent for as long as I have, all of that experience plays in. I think when we first start off, fitness coaches first start off in this industry, we cannot walk a mile in another person's shoes because, our shoes are brand new and shiny and we're ready to go and we run and let's go. We can't. As we get more experienced, we know that we go, hey, they come in, they've had a bad day, they had a fight with their daughter. Okay, so that's when, as coaches, we have to be flexible. Go, well, maybe we're not going to do barbell squats today. How about some medicine ball slams? It's like, oh, yeah, let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we've all had those sessions where it's like, yeah, let's just throw this behind my back. Let's say screw it and figure out what we want to do for the day.
Yeah, and that just comes from experience, right? Yeah.
Well, it gets back to that. You know what you can get away with.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. For sure. And I think, but that's what. Yeah.
Now, I want to be respectful of your time because you've been so gracious spending almost like we're coming on like 45 minutes now. And I
want to tell your audience, I really like talking if they hadn't noticed that already.
Okay, that's good because this one usually adds on at least another 20 minutes to this discussion that I got to ask every single person that comes on the show. What is your favorite movie of all time and why?
Oh God, my favorite movie. It's got to be Top Gun.
Top Gun, the original?
Both. I'm
Both.
not going.
You like
I just
Maverick?
said I'm not. We're not going either or on this one, Brian. I'm gonna lump them. I'm gonna lump them together because the sequel was more like a tribute to the old one.
Yeah.
Than more anything. I mean, for your audience, I grew up in Australia, so seeing that type of American Bravo when I was a teenager in Australia, I lapped it up. The planes, the Tom Cruise, the one-liners, the soundtrack. It's like the whole kit and caboodle of America, right? Even before I moved here. So it was my little indoctrination into America watching Top Gun. Love everything about it. Could sit there, watch it over and over again. And I have. One-liners. I've got probably more Top Gun t-shirts than I have gym t-shirts. I love Top Gun. Everything about it, like it, love it. So yeah, definitely Top Gun for sure.
Solid choice. That's one I haven't heard yet.
You haven't heard Top Gun?
No, I don't think I've heard Top Gun yet.
Yeah, well, I'm probably maybe a little bit older than a lot of your other guests because I'm in my 50s. So
I'm trying to think because I know I had one guy on, Al, and he's very close to your age, and his was actually a Batman movie, Batman and the Berserker, I think, or something like that. But
that's obscure.
I know. And I was like, now I got to go watch it because that's one I have never seen. But Top Gun, I could definitely relate because, like you said, I mean, when you got all like the best parts of 80s movies and an actual good story to go along with it, it's the best of both worlds.
Okay, a close second, even though we can't talk about the second one, close second is Last of the Mohicans. I could watch that movie over and over again. Love myself some Last of the Mohicans. Love myself some Magua.
Yeah, that's one of those I watched one time and I'm like, damn, that was good. And then every time you see it, you're like, I don't know if I'm emotionally capable of watching this right now.
Yeah, I just love the battle scenes and all that. Yeah, I love my, and see, I have a wife who doesn't like to watch movies over and over again. So
yeah.
But no,
I
Last
get that.
Is a close second.
Very good choices.
Definitely Top Gun.
Very good choices. I mean, and to be honest, like I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan, but that I could watch over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I'm right with you on that one. But yeah, definitely, Top Gun. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know. I always say Braveheart's mine. Like, such a good one.
Let's go. When I was in Scotland, long time ago, right? And I toured around Scotland for about 3 weeks. I reckon I watched Braveheart like 6 times. Everyone, we just watch it over and over and over again. If anyone's been to the UK, the bars close early in the UK. I'm not sure if that's still the case. It was the case when I was there.
When I was in Northern Ireland, I found that out the hard way.
Yeah. And so they're about to close this bar down in Scotland. We're all drinking whiskey. And this one guy in our tour group got up and recited Mel Gibson's battle scene speech word for word on the bar.
That is awesome.
The bar was full. He got up before it was about to close and said that, and we were like, "Oh, more whiskey, let's go!" It was gold. Yeah.
Now,
going to where the battle actually was in Stirling, Scotland, and the funny thing, when you go to Stirling, Scotland, where the Braveheart legend is, right? It's not a statue of William Wallace; it's a statue of Mel Gibson.
Really? That's interesting.
And when you see William Wallace's sword is like 6 feet.
Really?
It's huge.
I can't imagine just like trying to wield that when people are trying to kill you. Like, I feel like you would be so slow, you'd just be done.
Oh, I love myself some Braveheart. Oh, you got me going now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Now
one,
you
that's
got
one movie
me.
I've seen like,
You got me thinking about the scene where he launches it and it's just flying through the air at the end.
oh yeah. I love myself
Yeah.
some Braveheart. Yeah.
Now I
Going
gotta
go,
add.
I mean, if you haven't been to Scotland and you like Braveheart, gotta go.
Oh, it's on the to-do list. Now I gotta
Yeah.
ask, at the bar when he did that, did you also follow it up with the frontal and the backward flash?
No. Oh yeah. No. No, I think I was wearing pants. God, I hope
Well,
I
that's
wasn't.
always a plus. Because
Yeah.
that's one of those things I didn't realize as a kid watching it on TV. They never show that when they flash the front. And then I saw it on like Netflix or something. I'm like, whoa, that was not there.
Yeah, Braveheart. Yeah, definitely make my top 10. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love myself some Braveheart. But yeah, the statue of Mel Gibson instead of the actual William Wallace at the actual battle scene was that was weird.
Yeah.
Anybody who hasn't met Mel Gibson, I know Mel Gibson's like 5 foot nothing.
Yeah. Isn't he's in that group of actors that's like oddly short, like him, Sylvester Stallone. Who's another macho guy? Oh, the guy that played Apollo. It's escaping me.
Oh, Carl Williams? No,
Yes.
Williams, something
Or
like that.
no, he's on The Mandalorian now too. Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers, yeah, Weathers, not
Because I
Weathers.
remember they casted Carl Weathers because he was the same height as Sylvester Stallone, because Sylvester Stallone was so short.
Oh, that
Because
makes
he's only like
total sense.
5'6", 5'7".
Okay, yeah, and Predator. Let's not forget about that.
Ooh, can't forget that.
Yeah, Carl Weathers and Predator. Let's go.
Yeah. Predator's another good one. Damn, that's on the list.
Yeah, and Terminator.
Yeah. Terminator is one of those, like, it was before my time, so I got to catch up. I've seen them, but I don't have the same appreciation because the effects have come such a long way that you don't have like that nostalgic appreciation.
And your audience can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Terminator 2 was the first $100 million film.
Really? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, it was really yeah. I think when I saw Terminator 2, I walked out of that film. It was like, wow.
Yeah,
With
very
Robert Patrick
impressive.
getting blown to bits and then the molten metal coming back together.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Jeez.
something else.
That was at that time probably one of like the best things anybody had ever seen on a screen.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we could riff about movies forever. It's not.
We'll just have to nip it right there just so we don't go over.
Yeah.
But I'm just taking a quick look to see if there were any questions. And I think everybody was done with their lunch break by the time we started. So no questions for us.
Okay. All
but
right.
I guess that's a good place to wrap it. So I just want to say thank you so much, Shane, for hopping on. I really do appreciate getting on here, shooting the shit. And if anybody listening right now took something away from this, like on my media, on Shane's media, make sure to just take a screenshot and like let us know what resonated the most with you and tag us. I'd love to know. And Shane, do you have any parting words anywhere that the audience can find more of you if they want to learn a little bit more and see your Chuck Norris calendar?
So my website is balanceguidetraining.com. My Instagram handle is Outback Performance Center. And they're two good places. They're two good places to find me.
All right. And I'll be sure to put them in the show notes so you guys don't have to go searching. Just drop down in either Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever the heck you are finding us, and it'll be in the show notes so you can just click it and go. All right. So thank you again, Shane.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. See you later, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode and you're a new listener, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode. And if you're a returning listener, I would love your feedback. If you could take 2 seconds to just leave a quick review on iTunes or Spotify and rate the show, that would be greatly appreciated. So thank you in advance and have a great rest of your week.